Hello, trading is closed on July 16th, 2014, and I'm Jeffrey Tennant. I'd like to review last night's calls, today's action, and try to make a prediction for tomorrow. At the end of yesterday's close, I had a number of negative indicators. I had a lower target I expected to see print, but which did not. And I was disconcerted that we had a higher target out there. I did say that if we gapped over Tuesday's high, the call would be invalidated, and that's what happened, but it wasn't what I was expecting to see happen. Essentially, we had every reason to drop today and went up instead. We'll come back to that later on. There were some targets from yesterday's trade of 1980.27 and 1980.62. Those printed early, as were seen by the white dot. This yellow line and this white line are support resistance levels from yesterday's trade. This yellow line and this white line are support resistance levels from today's trade. When we dropped early on, the thick line indicates there was a higher target which was met here at the white dot. When the target printed, mejt said it was a false move, targeted a return to this thick blue line which we got here. There are no new mejt targets from today's trade. We have a failed target of 1971.49 from yesterday. The system says it should print but doesn't say when. Without a mejt signal for tomorrow, we're going to have to use other forms of technical analysis. If you look at a daily chart, the upper white line is the stop loss from the sequential sell signal. DeMark says the stop loss should be interpreted loosely. We've only violated it by 4 points in a market around 2,000. That's not enough to invalidate the signal. He also has something he calls a critical qualifier, which means we have to trade past today's close by 1 tick to validate the signal. In plain English, if we gap down tomorrow, the signal doesn't count. If that is an invalidation, it wouldn't count. Now, yesterday we had every reason to drop and we went up. Today we have quite the opposite. Here was the second challenge of the origin of the left stilt of the inverted diamond on stilts pattern. Typically there should be a strong rally, and that did not happen. We also have a low to high pattern which typically closes near the highs of the day. Is particularly negative when we gap up and have a series of lower highs, even if it weren't a low to high pattern. All this negativity would be invalidated if we gapped over today's high. I was negative right here at the top. We had an island reversal. I still think it's the operative pattern. If you connect the two lows, which define the island, you'll see that we tested the trend line here, and we gapped up to but not through the trend line here. Retesting the trend line once is okay, that's typical, but if we are going to drop, we shouldn't retest the trend line again. If you retest it, there should be a zoom to the upside. So once again, we have a situation where we have every reason to rally and we don't rally instead. not only don't we rally, we close under all these highs since the absolute high of the market. We've now gapped up 3 days in a row. We're within a fraction of a percent of the all-time high and weren't able to bust through. If this retest is a mistake, the market should invalidate all of today's action by gapping under today's low. If the retest is the real thing, the market should invalidate this consolidation by gapping over today's high and ideally over this trend line. There's no mejt call for tomorrow, but based on factors outside the system, I think the odds favor gapping outside of today's range. And I'm not much of a guesser, but if I were, I'd like to say we should have a gap under today's low tomorrow. We don't have to guess, and I'm not personally holding anything overnight. But if this is a top, I'd be very suspicious if we didn't gap under the low. And if we were going to rally, I'd be suspicious if we didn't have a gap over the high. I can't rule out just consolidating in this area tomorrow, but that's not what I'm expecting. And that's today's call.